I have a confession to make to you. I am that person who has built a career and a brand that is entirely focused on kindness and gratitude and empathy. I'm the founder of The Art of Lifing. I did a TEDx talk around the unexpected side effect of gifting gratitude. And yet here I am today. I'm about to talk to you about kindness. And I need to admit to you that there have been times recently where, honestly, I did not feel like being kind. And so, it almost sometimes feels like socially, that's a weird thing to do. Like, how could you not want to be kind? It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't harm you in any particular way. So what could possibly prompt you not to be kind? And certainly for me, doesn't it feel a little bit hypocritical if I'm talking about the benefits of kindness to be able to say, yeah, I've been there. I've been in that state where somebody said, let's be really, really kind. And inside of myself, a quiet voice inside of me said, yeah, no, I don't want to. So let me share a bit of background behind this. I have a really good friend of mine, Lori Flasco, who advocates for kindness. She is an incredible woman, and a few months ago, she decided to do a 2-week kindness campaign. So she approached me along with other people in her community and said, hey, would you participate? So the goal here would be to find ways in which you could communicate kindness in whatever way that works for you. So it could be something as little as smiling at a jogger, maybe as they're running by on the street, or it could be paying for somebody's order at a drive-through. It could even be baking cookies and giving it to somebody who might be in isolation during this global pandemic that we're all experiencing. But the point was, little acts of kindness in whatever way that suits us. We were going to take 2 weeks and promote kindness and promote the impact of that and then measure that. So Lori came to me and said, would you do this? And I said, yes, absolutely I will. That sounds great. And to be honest, in my heart of hearts, I wanted to do something like that because it's completely up my alley in terms of the work that I do. But in the last little while, just on a personal note, I've had a loved one that I care about deeply who has been really struggling from a mental health perspective. And it's been so hard to watch this person struggling and suffering. And I've wanted to help. And yet, in many ways, I've been helpless to do so. And in our own relationship, I've had some challenges in terms of holding personal boundaries. And if I'm really honest with you, I just had run out of energy. So by the time Lori started her campaign around kindness, I would see her emails and I would see her note on Facebook on a daily basis saying, we just did this, we just baked cookies for our neighbor and dropped it off. Oh, you should have seen the smile on their faces. And as I was reading all of these wonderful posts around kindness, do you know what I was feeling inside? I was feeling exhausted. And I was feeling like it's great that they're doing this. I wish I had their energy. I wish I had the ability to do what they're doing, but I don't have it. And truth be told, right now, I don't feel kind and I don't want to be kind to anybody. Oh my God, like that's so mean. That's what I told myself. As I'm thinking this, I thought, how can you possibly be thinking this? You're hypocritical in all the work that you're doing. You talk to people about the benefit of gratitude and kindness and empathy, and yet you don't even have it in you to be able to be kind to somebody by just even giving them a smile on the street. Why don't you want to be kind? Yeah, and I didn't have all the answers. I really didn't. But I felt bad. I felt bad that I was letting other people down, but most importantly, I felt like I was letting myself down. And in that process, I just tried to be more introverted. I tried to think a little bit deeper in terms of why I might not be feeling giving in this moment, when most of my life, I like to think of myself as a pretty giving person. And you know what I came to realize? I realized that I'm not being kind to myself. And with the difficulties that I've had with my loved ones and the challenges that we've had, I was taking a lot on from other people, and I just wasn't giving myself enough to be kind. And a lot of experts will say that a lot of students, a lot of young people today, or really anybody who's living life on social media and sharing their life, we're in this kind of always on always in performance mode. You know, like, what am I going to post on Instagram today? What am I going to share on TikTok? What am I going to say to my people, my audiences, my fans? And so when we're in constant performance mode, we tend to give to others. You know, we give that energy to others. And sometimes we forget to give it to ourselves. So I'm sure you've heard this, and I said it to myself too. I know, I need some self-care. I need some self-care. I need to take care of myself. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go out for a walk in the forest. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to do something that's going to give to myself. But nothing was working for me to make me feel better. My self-care became a routine. And what I realized is that self-care was a to-do list and an item, but I wasn't allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel. I was judging myself. I'm like, I'm trying to be kind, but I don't want to be. Therefore, I'm a bad person. And I'm a hypocrite in the work that I do and all of this stuff. And then suddenly it came to me and I realized, you know what? It is time for me to be selfishly kind to myself. Which means that self-care is not about a to-do list. It's not a thing that I do. It is something that I have to allow myself to feel. And I have to start to be positive and kind to myself. So what does selfish kindness look like? Well, if we go from self-care to self-kindness, what I see in that formula, I guess, would be, is that I needed to give time to myself, which I had not allowed myself to do. I kept giving myself expectations of what I needed to do for other people, and I was so tired because I wasn't giving myself the time that I needed. I also needed to give myself some forgiveness, which is hard to do. I was supposed to do this video a while ago for you guys, and I just didn't have it in me to do. And I didn't even know what I was going to share because I didn't want to be kind. And I realized that I needed to forgive myself and say, you know what, right now I'm hurting, I'm healing. And I need to give myself that time. When we have a wound, a physical wound that we can see, we take care of it, we nurture it, we give it the time it needs to heal. But when it comes to our emotional wounds, quite often, because we don't necessarily see it, we don't want to feel it. We just want to get over it. That was it for me. I was like, I'm not interested in the process. I just want to get over it and I want to be healed. But I have to give myself that time, and I have to give myself that permission to forgive myself and give myself that time. With time and forgiveness, the next step is love. How do we love ourselves? How are we kind to ourselves? How do we love ourselves? How does that even happen? It happens by allowing ourselves to feel. I had a conversation with a really dear friend of mine a couple of days ago when I had a very hard day just surrounding my loved one and the challenges that I'm facing. And my friend was amazing. When I got on the phone, she said, hey, how are you doing? And I said, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to cry. And I was holding back tears and holding back tears. And you know what she said to me? She goes, listen, you're going to cry. Yeah, you're going to cry. Just get that over with. Just accept the fact that you're going to do that. And let's just get started with our conversation. And just that little thing, the little fact that she gave me permission to cry freely as I needed on that call, suddenly took the pressure away from me having to try to fight that back. That to me was self-love. It was giving me permission to just be who I am without any type of judgment at all. And when I stopped that self-judgment, that is when I started to feel so much better. And that is when I went back to those posts that Lori had said about Kindness Week, I looked at it in an entirely different way. And actually seeing those posts gave me energy. And seeing those posts made me feel like, yeah, maybe there's something that I can do as well. And so I wanted to share this with you because I think too often in our society, we talk about kindness, gratitude, empathy, all in the lens of giving it to other people. And when we talk about giving it to ourselves, I think sometimes we think about it a bit too superficially. At least I was. I was thinking that being kind to myself just meant that I needed to get over what I was feeling and then go and help other people. But I brought this with me because I wanted to share this with you. Here's a little container. If this container is not completely full of items, it's empty, there's nothing in there. Am I going to judge this container for being empty? Or am I going to say, you know what, this is beautiful and I love it as it is. And this is enough as it is that I'm going to set it up in my house on display and appreciate it for what it is. And if at some point I want to fill it with some candy or for some goodies or whatever that case may be, all the better. We often don't do this with ourselves. You know, so often we look at ourselves and we say it's empty and therefore it doesn't have any value. It's no good, it's broken, it's incomplete. But what if we took ourselves and accepted ourselves for exactly who we are right now in this moment and say, we're enough. And with this idea of being enough, we're going to say, I'm going to give myself time. I'm going to give myself forgiveness. And I'm going to give myself love, which means accepting myself for who I am without any judgment at all. That's being selfishly kind to ourselves. And I can tell you from experience over these past few months that until we are able to be kind to ourselves, it is critically hard, almost impossible to be kind to other people. And if you feel like this today, if you are in that boat with me, if you feel like you don't have it in you to be kind right now to other people, that's okay. Give yourself permission to be selfishly kind to yourself first. Remember that you are enough, empty or otherwise, you are enough. You know, we often don't have language to communicate how we're feeling. I actually never told Lori why I didn't participate in her kindness challenge because I didn't understand it myself. I felt ashamed and I didn't have the language to be able to tell her this. But I heard this the other day and I thought it's the perfect way to be able to express to somebody when you just don't have it in you. You know, someone said to me, all you have to do is say, Keka, I don't have the bandwidth to be able to do this. Or I didn't have the bandwidth to be able to participate in that kindness challenge, even though I wanted to. Suddenly, you don't have to apologize for your behavior. You don't have to consider it something bad because we are all human and we are imperfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn as we go. And that's the beautiful part about life. And so that's the critical thing that I wanted to share with you is that if you are in that moment today where you feel like kindness is great, but I just have nothing left to give inside of me, that's okay. Be selfishly kind to yourself in this very moment and say to other people, I just don't have the bandwidth to give anybody else anything at this time. And as you do that, give yourself time, give yourself forgiveness, and give yourself love, which means accepting yourself. And if ever you find that negative voice creeping in, which I do, it's an ongoing thing, you know, and I find that voice coming in of self-judgment, you know what I remind myself of today? If my best friend came to me and told me that they were feeling as I'm feeling, what would I say to them? Would I judge my best friend and say, I can't believe that you didn't want to be kind? Or would I offer some more words of kindness? Would I offer them time, forgiveness, and love? Speak to yourself the way that you would speak to your best friend and give yourself permission to heal the wounds that you may not be able to see, but that you can definitely feel in your heart. And when you do, and you are completely selfishly kind, suddenly you'll find strength within yourself to be able to then give kindness to others.